Hello and welcome to the Etoft21sports Show for April 16th. How is everyone doing? My name is Eric. I'm the man behind Etoft21sports. Absolutely loaded episode today. My boy Bryce from the I Need It Sports Pod is today's special guest. Him and I are going to give you a NBA playoff preview, and Gino will have his horse racing by the day. But before we start all that, I would like to say thank you to the sponsor of the show, Parlay Play. If you're not using Parlay Play, you are missing out. Go to the App Store, download the Parlay Play app, and use promo code NFL Betting Blitz for a nice little deposit match. Now, let's see what Gino has cooking for us for his horse racing by the day over at Keeneland.
Best bet for this week will come at Keeneland on Saturday, April the 20th. Remember to head to drf.com whenever you need any help handicapping the races before you play any of the races. I'm looking at race number 8. It's the Grade 2 Elkhorn, and it's a really fun race. The 4 Bold Act is going to be probably the favorite in there, the 3-2 Morning Line Choice. I'm going to move towards the outside where I think the 11 Silver Knot is in this race to go. With the outside draw, he has really no choice but to try and be aggressive. He's stretching out from races, going a little bit shorter, and with Flavian Pratt aboard, I think they're just tipping the hand that they're going to get aggressive and go. This barn is very, very good with horses that they send out to the U.S., and this is a horse who's been to the U.S. for a while, so has been acclimated here, so just knows the pace and has been forwardly placed going shorter. I think in this spot, no doubt about it, from the outside, Silver Knot is going to go. If we can get anything over 5-1, I think that's fair price for a horse who should be winging it out on the front end. Let's see if we can get the 11 Silver Knot gate to wire there on Saturday, April the 20th at Keeneland. Remember, anytime you're playing the races, drf.com, and every week we'll be here with you the best bet, and you'll be getting the best information from Eric in all of sports. Talk to you again next week.
Make sure to give my boy Gino a follow at It's Me, Gino B on X. Gino and I are going to be live starting Saturday any day if there's an NBA game, sharing our bets and whatnot. So make sure to check that out. Now, without further ado, let's welcome my boy. I've had the privilege of getting to know him pretty well over the last couple months. Great guy, knows his stuff. The man behind the I Need It Sports Pod. Let's welcome Bryce to the show. Bryce, how you doing today, my man?
What's up, Eric? Long time no see, man. I think it's been since NFL playoffs, and
it's been since
now NBA playoffs. Yes, man.
So obviously, for those watching for the first time, Bryce is a diehard Kansas City Chiefs fan.
Yes, sir.
He told me way back when the playoffs started, they're winning it, so I got to tip my cap. Props where props are due. Big news in the offseason, though. Ray Rice is out. You brought in Hollywood Brown. This is supposed to be an NBA show, I know, but I have to pick your head. What's going on? Are you not worried? Are they going to draft another wide receiver? Where's your head at with the Chiefs real quick?
So before Rashee Rice did the stupid stuff he did, I was already of the mindset we're probably going wide receiver with one of our first 2 picks, if not possibly trading up to get a stud wide receiver. This year's draft class is loaded with wide receiver talent all over the board. So I kind of think you don't have to force and trade up. Now that the Rashee incident has happened, I think that makes that decision even more present. So we will for sure be going wide receiver. But am I worried? I'm not gonna lie. I've been a Chiefs fan my whole life. So for anybody who thinks, this is just a bandwagon, now that we're good, it's not that. After last year, seeing, how bad they were throughout the season with that wide receiver corpse, and, I still came on the pod and was like, hey, I'm telling you, they can get it together. They can win the Super Bowl. Seeing a back-to-back dynasty cemented, there's not too much I can really worry about as a fan, because it's like, that's like a spoiled kid, crying about not getting something one time. And it's just like, at the end of the day, if Patrick Mahomes can win with what he had last year, and he still got Travis Kelce and Andy Reid, I'm not too worried about who else is around him. I know at the end of the day, they'll find a way to make it work. And Marquise Brown, adding that to this group, we finally have someone who can take the top off of the defense once again and actually catch the ball and is, actual really good deep threat. For the last 2 years, MVS has kind of had that role. And I know, I'm not saying MVS is bad by any measure, but he's not Marquise Brown. So I definitely think that'll be a plus addition to the offense. And who knows where we go in the draft. Me personally, I would love to draft a big wide receiver, but for whatever reason, that's not Andy Reid's MO as of his Chiefs tenure. So if it's not him, I'm actually kind of where we're sitting at pick 32. I kind of want Lab McConkey. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like everybody else will be off the board. That's first round talent. I like Lab McConkey. I think he's a guy who can separate, get space, and he has pretty good hands. I think he could pair well with the guy like Travis Kelce, who draws a lot of attention because he'll get one-on-one matchups.
That's interesting. I am drafting a wide receiver, but I have him going with Mitchell from Texas. That's why
I want AD, but I don't know if we'll take him. Like,
he's got some off the field stuff going on too. So
yeah,
I mean, if Rice happened, that's a good point. Pink Lily A chart chimes in, hashtag Chiefs Kingdom.
Hey, yeah, that's my aunt right there. So Chiefs fans are deep. If we roll.
I hate the Lakers. What's up, boys? And I hate the Lakers. So can the Knicks contend? We're going to get to your questions right now in the chat room. Guys, keep them coming. Then we're going to give you an NBA series preview, share some first-round bets. Seaspirit22 chimes in. Can the Knicks contend in the East without Julius Randle?
I honestly think, and this is something I talk about with my friends on my podcast a lot, we're all of the mindset that Julius Randle is kind of the one piece holding the Knicks back these last couple of years because he was their 1A, but he's not really a 1A option. And now that he's been out of the picture and you've kind of seen Jalen Brunson's game flourish and he's kind of become that guy, I think the Knicks have a good chance of contending in the East. The only problem is if they get caught up in an early series and a series goes 6 or 7, Tibbs is not resting any players. Jalen Brunson is just going to play 45 plus minutes every single game. Do you want that kind of wear and tear on his legs headed into a conference finals matchup with the Celtics, so to speak, if you're coming out of a 7-game series with whoever? That's where I kind of get worried. But if they can take care of their business in the first round and semifinals, I think they stand a chance. So I think they can contend for sure in the East.
Now, Randall is bad for my boy Bobby Thomas. Sports Facts goes, what piece do the Knicks need to make to take them over the edge?
So they added Anunoby. That's a solid wing. Josh Hart is kind of like a glue guy. I know Dante DiVincenzo has kind of come into his own like we've never really seen. They need a solid 4 or 5, but someone that can pair well with Brunson and stretch the floor. Or Randall, he's not really sure. He shoots the ball and he has his nights where he is on, but he's not really a shooter. He's kind of more of a shot chucker, in my opinion. But they have good pieces. It's really just nailing that 4 or 5 spot. When your front court has Hartenstein and Randall, that's not championship worthy. It's enough for now, but if they want to get over that championship hump, they're definitely going to have to beef up down there and add some shooting so they can definitely stretch the floor, open up the lane for Jalen Brunson because he likes to get to his spots in the mid-range and kind of post up a little bit too.
Sports Facts, again, nice call on the under 115.5 in the game. I saw Bryce was on the under 2.
I had that too. I saw when you too. I was like, wow, great minds think alike.
Does chime in, though. I have to ask, what do the Pelicans do now? They kind of feel they need to make some changes or will be stuck where the Bulls are. That's an interesting question because the Bulls are kind of in that thing. We can't get over the 6th seed, but we are not in the lottery. So what move do they need to do to get out of that range, I guess?
That's a tough one. And it sucks because what I'm going to say is going to sound really crazy, especially with the game he just had. Zion just had 40.
Yep.
He did go out with an injury with like 3 minutes to go, and I don't know how serious or what exactly happened. But he's going to have to develop a jump shot. The way they were guarding him tonight, it was kind of – the Lakers are basically just able to pack in the paint and he was still able to go get his buckets, and credit to him. But he definitely is going to have to add somewhat of a jumper to kind of at least present the threat that he can shoot the ball, open it up for his teammates. I'm kind of the mindset. I know how you feel about Zach LaVine. How he's never really been a part of winning basketball.
Yep.
It's not to that same extent, but I just feel like CJ McCollum, he's never gonna be a guy that's gonna be on a winning team. Like we seen him with Dame when he was the number 2 guy, and he let Dame down a lot in some of those deep playoff runs. We've seen him now with New Orleans. They had one decent playoff run a couple years ago where they kind of gave the Phoenix Suns a run for their money. But other than that, I just don't think CJ McCollum is a guy that gets you there, but he's a great vet presence. I get all that, but they're going to have to get younger. They do have some nice young pieces. Trey Murphy had a pretty good game tonight. Herb Jones, one of them, they might leave in free agency or get traded because they have some value there, but they're going to have to add a guard that can run a nice 2-game with Zion, but which I'm not saying CJ can't, but like I said, when it comes to playoff basketball, CJ's not the guy, and he won't ever be the guy. I mean, I think he's probably in year 10 or 11 now, and
More than
we
that.
know what we're going to get with CJ at this point, and it's not championship level basketball. It just is what it is.
Matt Clay chimes in, who is a long shot to win the title. Hey, I'm going to say this. Bryce was on when the Dame stuff went down. And if you watch that, you're sitting on the Thunder 100-1 to win it all. Right now, I don't know. I really feel it's the Nuggets to lose, if I'm being honest. I feel it's the Nuggets to lose. I don't trust the Celtics. The Celtics are 3-11 in one-score games. That's a little worrisome for me. 76ers, Embiid's been great, but he's been taking some big falls. We don't know how his cardio is. Bucks have the Giannis situation going on. Knicks, you mentioned it, only have Brunson. So I kind of feel it's the Nuggets to lose. Maybe the Suns get hot. Maybe we get the Suns at a good price right now. I'd look to go Phoenix maybe. But other than that, I really don't think there's a good launch on the board. What do you think?
I'm not going to lie. Has anybody been paying attention to the Dallas Mavericks?
Yeah, that's true.
I know it sounds crazy because, you think of Luka and you don't think any defense is like you can't ever win without defense. But they've gotten hot at the right time. I think the trade deadline additions of PJ Washington, Gafford were really nice pickups that suit Luka's game. And since the All-Star break, they've been on a tear. And the last 2 games, they were basically able to rest everybody because they'd already locked in the 5th seed. But before that, I believe they were on a 6-game streak. And I had some notes I wrote up. Since All-Star break, they're 18-9 straight up, 19-7-1 against the spread. And like I said, the last 2 games, they rested everybody. So they got blown out. But if they don't rest everybody, they more than likely are sitting at 20-9 straight up and 21-7-1 against the spread. They've been hot. Luka is balling. Kyrie is coming to his own in Dallas. He seems to really have found a home there. I know there were jokes being written because I guess when he was with the Nets and he was participating in Ramadan and stuff, they were giving him like bananas, whereas the Mavericks got him a whole personal chef that makes vegan meals for him after the games. They've been able to transition Derek Jones into starting lineup, put Tim Hardaway on the bench, so he comes in and he's not as much of a factor because I know he chucks up a lot of shots. Luka, when he's healthy and in the playoffs, the last time we seen that, he led them to the Western Conference Finals. Now they ran into the Warriors, so it's tough, but they have the right path this year if they can just win. I think they're going to handle the Clippers. There's still skepticism about Kawhi and his knee. And then with the 5 seed, they're going to match up with the Thunder, and that's going to be either the Pelicans, Warriors, or Kings now. The Thunder can handle any of those teams. The Warriors, the experience factor kind of worries me a bit if it's them. But the Mavericks, they can beat all of those teams I just named in the second round, I think, with relative ease. And then it's a Western Conference Finals matchup against most likely the Nuggets. Now, I think the Nuggets would win that, but I wouldn't put it against the Mavericks. I wouldn't be surprised if the Mavericks were able to make that a closer series than people expect. And who knows, they might be able to steal a win here or there, and next thing you know, they're in the finals. So
your aunt is chiming in. Drake thinks the Lakers are going to win versus the Nuggets. He's calling an early exit for the Nuggets. That would be big. That would be huge.
Drake, did you just see the second half of this Lakers Pelicans game? That's the exact reason why they would not be anywhere close to beating the Nuggets in a 7-game series. Poor coaching and poor execution down the stretch.
A couple questions are the same thing. RG chimes in. Any legs to the rumors Bucks could be moving Dame in the offseason if they get an early exit from the playoffs? Etoft21sports has the same question. Is Dame done with the Bucks if they lose?
That's funny because I'm pretty sure the first episode I ever joined you on was when Dame trade became official, and you hit me up, hey, you want to talk about it? Compared to what we were saying that day to these questions now, it's just complete 180.
Well, the whole landscape has changed. You know, Griffin's not there. They brought in scouts. He's not there. There's a lot of stuff going on in that Bucks organization. There's these, like, Stephen A? He said, like, Lillard's not happy in Milwaukee. My thing is this, is you just got a divorce and your kids are out west. I don't care what city you're in. You're not going to be happy. And that's something to remember. I tried to tell him. Drake said he has faith. And then Spear22 asks, and then we'll hop into that. Uncle Rico, is that a Bucks hoodie? Yeah, old school Bucks, yellow hoodie, city wear a couple years ago. Had to break it out for the NBA playoff edition. Now, great stuff, guys. You know, make sure you keep the questions coming. Bryce and I will answer them. Also, I see everyone on Instagram. Instagram's a little weird on StreamYard. I can't bring up your comments. Thank you to Victor, Betting and Heels, the Wolf of Oakland. Thank all you guys for joining. If you guys have any questions, hit me up. Bryce and I will answer them. Let's chime into the playoffs. The first series we're going to talk about, the Pacers against the Bucks. Where your head's at? Kind of how are you looking at this series, Bryce?
Man, this is the last 2 weeks couldn't have gone worse for the Bucks. I know he's gonna force his way to play, but I really don't think he should. I don't think Giannis should be playing at all. That injury he had where he's just jogging up the court and just pulls what they're calling a calf strain. Those are some serious injuries. Those soft tissue injuries, you have to let them heal with time. And rushing back, you don't want anything. We've seen this injury lead to an Achilles injury. We definitely don't want that. You know, Giannis is still young, so to speak, but this is like his 10th or 11th year in the league. So he's got a lot of wear and tear on his legs, especially with, you know, as much effort as he puts out in every game. And it's just like the Pacers are probably they've been their worst matchup this season because they just run up and down the court. And I believe they won the season series 4-1. The worst thing about the Pacers is their paint defense, but now you don't have Giannis for at least the start of the series. Your defense has been struggling. Like you said, there's the whole Dame fiasco. Is he happy? I mean, like you said, who would be happy when you're dealing with all he's dealing with off the court? You got Doc Rivers coming into the post-game press conference every game like, hey, it's not my fault. These guys need to get it together. I don't know what we're doing. I'd hate for anybody to be thrown in my position. Everything has just went wrong from the very start since they fired Griffin. And the Pacers, they're so young and naive. They won't know what they're doing in the playoffs, but that might actually work in their favor in this spot because they're just going to be playing with house money, just running and gunning. Hey, we're here. Might as well give it our best shot, just like the play-in tournament. And next thing you know, you could find yourself in a Game 7 because you don't have Giannis to start off the series. In Game 7, it's whoever's on that night. So it's really scary. It's going to have to take a vintage Dame performance for the whole series like we used to see in Portland. Probably like he's going to need maybe 1 or 2 of those games like we seen versus the Nuggets years ago where I think he had like 55. but still ended up losing that game because of a guy like CJ McCollum, like I said earlier. So it's going to be a tough matchup for the Bucks for sure. And with all the chaos going on behind the scenes, I just don't know how much that team can really be locked in.
What do you guys think of Doc? What do you think of Doc Rivers?
I don't want to say he's the biggest choker or one of the biggest chokers of all time as a head coach. He did win a ring with the OA Celtics, did lead them back to the finals, but in 2010. But ever since then, he's been responsible for some of the worst playoff performances in history. And like I said, all this going on with the Bucks, he did get thrown into a tough situation. I'll say, well, yes, Doc definitely deserves a lot more of the blame than he would lead on. I'd say a lot of this blame has to go on Giannis, which sucks to say because Giannis has had one of the best seasons in NBA history, one of his best seasons. I believe he's averaging 30 on like 60% from the field, which is a record. But they don't make the move to fire Griffin without Giannis' say so. If y'all remember, at that point in the season, they're 31-13. I think they might have even been first in the East at that time. But a couple of bad games, and Giannis went in the post-game presser one time, and he was like, it's going to take everybody. Everybody's got to put in max effort, even the trainers, even the guys who are folding our clothes. And another one, he said he didn't necessarily like the adjustments Griffin made. And then there was a clip of Griffin trying to write something up on the board, and Giannis completely ignoring him. So I know for 100% fact whether or not they'll ever say it, Giannis had a big say in firing Griffin because this whole offseason, his whole motive was like, hey, I'm not going to sign an extension until I know Milwaukee is all in on getting another championship with me. Until then, I won't do it, and I might be a free agent. He signs the extension. They don't make that move with how they say so. And to go 31-13 and not finish the season with 50-plus wins with all that talent on that team, it's a lot of blame to go around. It's a lot of blame to go around.
Your aunt chimes in. Say it, Bryce. I don't know. I don't know what she's asking you to say, man. But
she wants me to say Doc sucks, and he does. He does. But that honestly, this whole year, that whole Milwaukee Bucks organization has just sucked from top to bottom. It's just been disarray from the very jump. So
it's been disorganized. Disorganized. This is my head in the series. What's up with Giannis? We really don't know what's going on. Shams tweeted out. Looks like he's going to be out to start the series. Bucks miss Giannis on the offensive end, no doubt. But the main thing they miss him is the weak side rotation defending the rim. Will the Bucks playoff shooting woes continue? This happens every year. It's been going on since they played the Raptors and were up 2-0. That series, the last 6 games, they shot 28% on wide open threes. That means no one was in three feet. Cost them against the Celtics when they lost it in that second round series in Game 7. Will the shooting woes continue? What are we going to get from Middleton? He has not been the same since he was their second best player when they won the title a couple years ago. Constantly banged up. They need him to get to 80% if they have any shot in this series. Also, here's a question for you. Do you feel since adding Siakam, the spacing with the Pacers is better compared to when they had Hield?
That's kind of tough because I try to tune in to Indiana Pacers games a little bit because I have League Pass, but you really don't see them or hear about them. And ever since they made the Siakam trade, you haven't really heard of Siakam. I think in a matchup like this, though, if you don't have Giannis, Siakam could play a major factor because he's going to be at that 4 spot, and I think that could cause a lot of problems for the Bucks when Tyrese is pushing the ball up and down the court and you got Siakam filling in the lane. He's going to have a lot of easy shots at the rim, so to speak, because they have the fastest pace in the game. And I want to say for 100 possessions, versus the Bucks specifically, they're like 123 points per 100 possessions. So, and then you take away, their best defender, it's going to be very tough. And I think Siakam, for this specific series, he would be better for the Pacers than, say, Hill for spacing and just scoring in general. But like you said, it's really just Giannis's paint protection. That's what you're going to miss the most. And Brook Lopez is going to have to step up. Bobby Porter's going to have to step up. I know they've kind of shifted to Beasley's coming off the bench, but he's going to have to come off the bench and knock down shots so you don't have a repeat of, like you said, 28% from open threes. And then one interesting thing I think that could maybe help tilt it a little bit is playoff basketball. So, refs let them get away with a little bit more. I know Patrick Beverley is going to be a pest for Tyrese Halliburton. I'll be interested to see how he handles that in a playoff atmosphere because you're not going to be getting all the calls. Patrick Beverley's going to be trying to get under his skin from the very jump.
And that's my next point on my notes. Halliburton struggles with physical defenders. How is he going to react when Beverley does the Beverley stuff? I think because of that, that's going to lead to more Connaughton minutes. I think we're going to see Connaughton play a little bit more than Beasley because he's a better defender, than Beasley, and he can be a little bit more physical with Halliburton. Can the Pacers generate enough stops? What is happening when they're not going to be hitting threes because they're so 3-point reliant? And then one thing I always do is when I look at a playoff series like this, I look at who the second best player is on the team, and then I eliminate them. And then I look at who has the better roster. So when we do that, I feel the Bucks have the better roster. You know what I mean? So that's kind of something, and I really feel the key to this series is going to be Bobby Portis. How is he going to look being in the starting lineup? Is he going to be able to make those open threes because he's going to get some corner threes? And defensively, how is he going to do against Siakam? And is he going to be good when the Bucks go zone, rotating to defending the rim? I kind of feel that the Bucks are going to win this somehow, just because the Pacers first time at the rodeo and everything. But that's just me. I don't know. Like I said, I may be a homer because I'm rocking the Bucks right now, but we will see. Definitely looking forward to it. Next series, we have the Magic and Cavs, and I'm going to say something that's going to blow your mind. This is a trivia question for you. When was the last time the Cavs were in the playoffs without LeBron?
Probably when they had Mark Price or something, I would guess.
1992. I don't even know if you were born in 1992.
Oh, no. I wasn't even a thought in 19.
I don't even know if your parents were dating in 1992.
My older brother wasn't even born yet. So
like, that's been how long it's been since the since the Cavs won a series without LeBron, because they made it last year. Since the Cavs won a series in 1992. Interesting series here. What are your thoughts here, my friend?
Well, so obviously this past weekend, final day of the regular season, and it's 17 spots up for grabs in the NBA playoffs between both conferences. For whatever reason, the Cavs decided, because the Cavs were actually playing for the Atlantic title technically, and they could have potentially got the 2 seed. They're up against the Charlotte Hornets, who are playing nothing but backups that most people probably never heard of. And they're up double digits in the fourth. Bickerstaff clears the bench, and the Hornets go on a 32-14 run. Crowd is booing. Bickerstaff doesn't care. They can't come out and say it, but they basically sold the game so they could get this matchup with the Magic. Now, how the Magic take that disrespect, that'll be interesting to see because they're also a young team. But this Cavs team is just another team. I think they had a big injury bug this year, so that's been tough. I know Mobley went out. He had a knee surgery in the middle of the season. That took him out for some time. Then when he came back, he had a sprained ankle that took him out for another 3 weeks. Mitchell, that whole saga, it sounds like every rumor I hear about him is that he's not going to return to Cleveland next year. So how much are they really together in that locker room? Him and Darius Garland have never necessarily meshed well. They've had their good games, but they don't seem to be a duo that works well together. Jarrett Allen last year in his first playoff series was absolute garbage. How is he going to fare? The Magic, they have some nice young talent. They can't necessarily shoot the ball that well. This series, I'm going to be probably locking in a lot of unders all series long because it's nothing but size on the court and really bad shooting. The Cavs should be able to pull this one out, I think, in 6. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Magic could sneak up and take this one in 7, because I just don't think this Cavs team, they just haven't had a time to really gel this year. They've just been up and down. The moment they get people back, someone else gets hurt. Mitchell's missed 20 plus games. Garland's missed 20 plus games. Mobley's missed 20 plus games. There's been no cohesion, and those are their best 3 players, and they haven't been able to have them on the court all at once for an extended period of time. And also, I don't get it. Paolo Banchero, 6'10", freak athlete, former number 1 pick from 2 years ago. Doesn't get talked about at all, but he's the first person or the youngest person in NBA history to lead his team in points, rebounds, and assists. And it gets no media coverage whatsoever. But he's been balling. Yeah.
I mean, if he was like in New York, Brooklyn, one of the LA teams, Miami, he would be front page news. And I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. It's because he's in Orlando. You know, like no one cares about Orlando. I don't mean to be mean to Magic fans, but no one cares. And I agree with you 100%. He is a dynamic player. Any other thoughts on this game, my friend? This series, excuse me.
I think it's going to depend on Allen and Mobley. How well will they play? Because like I said, last year, they did not look good in that first round versus the Knicks, and that was their ultimate demise. Technically, they have the experience over the Magic, but it's not much. It's just 1 year playoff experience over them. But they need to, for the team morale, for their morale moving forward, they need to find a way to win the series. Because if they lose to the Magic, who aren't going anywhere since they're a young team, and there's already the rumors of Mitchell leaving in the offseason, it's going to get real rocky in Cleveland, and they're going to be wondering where do they go to move forward and try to become a better team, because they've always been young and promising for the last couple years, but the promise hasn't came through yet. So definitely on the hot seat a little bit in Cleveland over there.
Let's make some money. Cavs played with the basketball gods, and it will cost them 100%. My boy, this is the best man on Twitter. Old man complaining about Detroit sports. Heartbreak city for the Wings, man. Yes, 100%. And for those who don't know, my boy E was going to hook me up when I was there in town for the NFL draft next week. If the Wings are in town, I was going to do the draft. Wings playoff game, double. First playoff game in 7 years for my Detroit Red Wings. Fortunately, they played with their food too much. Capitals won, and they finished 1 game out. My notes on the Magic Cavs. The Magic are physical. Are the Cavs going to be able to match that physicality? You mentioned Donovan Mitchell. 11 games played post All-Star break. Has not been on the court at all. Been a stud in the playoffs scoring. But he only has an 18-26 record. So for how good he's been scoring, he's not getting wins. Cavs, I really feel like he is they've added more shooters. The thing that cost them last year is they had no one that could make an open corner shot. You know, they brought in Strus. They got Merrill. They have some dudes that can make some threes now. I think that's going to help them. Do we trust Bickerstaff? I felt Bickerstaff's rotation last year against the Knicks were awful. I think Tibbs ran circles around him, and that's what caused the Cavs the series. Cavs had way more talent than the Knicks team last year. Pressure is going to be on the Cavs. If the Cavs start out this game and they're down 12, 10, hell, even 8 or 6 at the end of the first half, what is that building going to be like? Because you tanked to get this matchup. You tanked to avoid the playing game. Now you're going to have all that pressure going on. And if you lose this first game and now the Mitchell rumors are going on, I think there'd just be like a whirlwind. It could be like, I don't know if you ever watched The Price is Right, but it could be like that game in The Price is Right where the little miner is going up the hill and he gets to the top and he just falls down if you go over the total. That's what the Cavs could be like if they lose it. Are the Magic going to be able to score enough points? You mentioned Paulo, what a great season he's having. Besides him, is Wagner and crew going to be able to score points? Magic don't, they live in the mid-range.
Yeah.
That's a worry. They don't take many three-pointers. I really feel the key person for the Cavs is Strus. Playoff experience. Is he going to be able to make the threes? The way the Magic play, they're not going to be able to expose him on the defensive end. And it was an interesting thing, and I don't know if enough people realized it. Jonathan Isaacs started the last game against the Bucks. Are we going to see him more than Wendell Carter. Wendell Carter has been great in his NBA career, but he's been a little bit banged up. Isaacs can defend all the positions. It's going to be interesting if we're going to see Isaac start and what minutes we're going to have moving forward. If Isaac, because of that, I really feel one of the best futures to play, if you can find it. I've been trying to find it. Jonathan Isaacs to lead the series in rebounding. Probably be about 70, 80 to 1 maybe, but I haven't been able to find it. And if he's playing the center position, I feel Mobley and Allen are going to kind of cancel each other out. If he's getting those center minutes, he's going to get the rebounds. I feel that's a great little future to grab. I feel the Magic are going to win this game and win this series in 7, or the Cavs are going to win it 4-1. I feel there's no middle ground. You know what I mean? Like, I feel there's no middle ground. It's going to be Cavs big or Magic tight. Next one, another interesting series. The Timberwolves against the Suns, my friend. Where's your head at with this one?
Oh, man. Before I say anything, hopefully there's not any Timberwolves fans on the live right now. But we actually had this discussion on my podcast a couple weeks ago, but didn't have this direct discussion. But we were basically talking about, I got in an argument with my friend Cam, where he was basically trying to argue to me that Karl Anthony Towns is a top 25 NBA player. And we were like, I was like, I don't agree with you, but just for argument's sake, let's go through and let's try to name 25 players you take over Cat. And we were able to name off probably like 28, 30-ish players. The last 28 to 30, it was kind of like give and take. I'll let you have it. But Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, I'm sorry. In my personal opinion, I think those are two of the weakest big men in the league. And when they made the trade for Gobert, I didn't understand it. And then when Karl Anthony Towns got off to a hot start to start the year, I thought that was the perfect time to trade him because his value was the highest. You have Naz Reid on the bench, who I think complements Anthony Edwards' game way better. Everybody's always talking about, hey, Anthony Edwards is next. He's the next face of the league. Well, with Karl Anthony Towns on the roster, just by virtue of him being Cat and the way he plays, he's going to get his shots, and that takes away from some of Ant's, shot attempts. Naz Reid stretches the floor, plays great defense. I think he's more fitting to Ant's game if, you're going to center the team around Ant. And then on the Rudy Gobert front, I'll say this now. If Wemby doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year, I don't know what we're doing here. If we give Rudy Gobert his fourth Defensive Player of the Year, basically locking him into the Hall of Fame, and then we sit here a week later and we watch the Suns completely tear him apart when he has to come outside of the paint, I can't do it. I've seen this story so many times. You bring up the Donovan Mitchell playoff record. A lot of that, Rudy Gobert. Every year, Utah Jazz, solid team. Oh, they got great defense. Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year. They get to the playoffs. What do teams do? Pick and roll, bring Rudy out. Rudy cannot guard a traffic cone out there. It's like clockwork every year. And I'm like, I can't stand when people are like, oh, Rudy's such a great defender. Like, he's a great shot blocker. Other than that, he brings not much to the game. Like, I get people who say, oh, well, he's got a fear factor. To an extent, but I've seen a lot of NBA guys test Rudy Gobert at the rim, and it's not that much of a fear factor. I remember the year they finally did luck up and make it to the conference semifinals, and they played the Clippers, and Kawhi got hurt. You saw Terrence Mann going off randomly for the rest of the series, killing Rudy Gobert because they went small ball. And now you get their worst matchup because Timberwolves, they like to play big. You get Cat, you get Rudy Gobert. You're going to get Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal, who thrive off shooting jump shots. They don't have to get to the paint to get their buckets. Suns swept them in the season series. Timberwolves got them on this Sunday for a chance at the 1 seed in their house, got smoked, and now you have to turn around and have to play them in a 7-game series. I said it on Instagram because we posted a TikTok with some of the clips of our argument. Give me the Suns in 6. Like, I think it sucks because Minnesota had a great year, and I do think is really going to be a future star of the league. He's going to be top 5, arguably top 3 for majority of his career, but they're not going to win this series versus the Phoenix Suns unless a major injury happens to either KD, Booker, or Bill. I just don't see the Timberwolves win. They haven't won a playoff series in, I think, over 20 years now in Minnesota. So,
dude, Ant chiming in, thumbs down, Cat, thumbs down, Rudy. Old man, are you guys seeing the Warriors Kings score?
I love it.
Murray is going off.
Kings plus 3.5.
Cool Kev, my boy Cool Kev chimes in. Cool Kev, thanks for tuning in. Carl Towns, the next Felton Spencer, LOL. And then he also chimes in. Rudy got that COVID factor. Remember that thing where he had COVID? He was like,
He touched the mics, and the next thing you know, he's the first one, and the league shuts down. Yeah.
Bulls are in limbo. Any way they can make some roster moves to make them competitive in the conference. That's tough. I kind of feel that's a roster that needs to be completely blown up.
It should have been blown up years ago. And then they just really had – it should have been blown up, but they also had the worst luck probably of any NBA team in the last couple of years. When Lonzo came over there, they were actually really good. I think they were number one in the East for a period of time. And then he got that knee injury, and then the knee injury turned into an even bigger problem, and he's been out for 2.5 years now. With Lonzo, I think they could have been, real contenders. Now, like you said, I'm in the mindset, you just got to blow it up and start from ground zero.
Bulls cheap. This year's draft sucks. Yeah. This year's draft is brutal. I think you definitely got to blow it up and go in. I mean, there's some dudes coming out next year that could be – I'm not saying you could get a Wemby, but you could get someone like a Chet Holmgren type level guy to come in there. Maybe the Cooper Flay guy, him come in there. So I think they need to tank. I think they need to do a hard reset. My thought on this series, Wolves are basically dogs with the series price. And what is that telling me? That's telling me everyone is viewing the Wolves as a regular season team and the Suns as a playoff season team. Beal is back, making jumpers, playing defense. He has been good. Wolves are good at protecting the three. They have these athletic wings that can get over screens and defend the three well. They give up a lot of mid-range jump shots. That's where Booker and KD, they love that stuff. Do the Suns go small here? You know what I mean? Do they go really small and kind of force his hand and kind of changing up with what he's doing? I really feel that when you look at all the matchups, this is the worst possible matchup for Minnesota because they're going to have to change what they like to do. They're going to have to completely go around. They're not going to be able to play. I really feel instead of having two positions where you have Reed, Towns, and Gobert minutes all going into, that needs to dwindle down to one. And is Fitch going to be able to do that? I don't know. Did a big thing. I think it was like when the Nets were making their moves. So not last season, the season before. My big thing was like, look, if I'm Minnesota, I battle around build around Ant, and I trade Towns to Brooklyn because Brooklyn's looking for a star. This is the most interesting piece to me, this series. I don't know what either team's going to do. And because of that, I'm just going to be sitting the series out. I really don't have any bets, any leans. I'm just going to be sitting back and kind of playing this one game to game. But I think you're right. I think the Suns win this probably in 6. I kind of think that's how it is. Next one, we are going to interesting series. This one's been set for the longest. We got the Mavs against the Clippers. You mentioned the Mavs earlier. Interested to see where your head's at here, my friend.
Yeah, I didn't hit. I basically said it earlier on accident, but even if Kawhi is playing, man, I'm taking the Mavs. I have the Mavs as a dark horse to make the finals. Some picks. We're gonna do a live pod hopefully Friday for playing games. So if you're free, Eric, love to have you on. But I'm gonna share some more of that there. But ever since Luka's coming to the league, I don't know what it is about the Clippers, but the Clippers and Suns always get Luka's best game for whatever reason, and I think he's going to completely annihilate them this whole series. And the Clippers, they've had a rough last month and a half of basketball. I have to eat crow because when they got hot, or when they made the trade for Harden and they started off bad, I went on the pod and I was like, hey, I think Lou will figure something out. And then they got it rolling, and then it's gone downhill completely the last month and a half. Now, I don't know what the deal with Kawhi is. I'm hearing he's going to play, but then at the same time, I think I seen Chris Broussard yesterday said he had sources that said the swelling in Kawhi's knee is really bad and it's not going down. Now, of course, with a lot of these guys, who are their sources? Who knows? But like I said, even with the healthy Kawhi, I just think this Mavericks team is hot at the right time. And you talk about, you said, what happens if the Magic have the Cavaliers down 8-6.5? What happens if at any point in time the Mavericks have the Clippers down 15 at home? That crowd is going to be dead silent. It's going to be like, here we go again. We're going to move into a new arena next year with no banners because we just can't get it done when it comes to playoff time. And there's the rumors that Paul George is probably gone next year because they don't want to give him a max. Kawhi, while he's had a healthy year, comes to the playoffs, now he's hurt. Should he maybe think about retirement? What do you want to do with Kawhi? James Harden's only getting older. They're going to have to answer a lot of questions, and Luka is going to make them face those questions sooner than they thought. I think this one could get ugly. I'm going to say Mavericks in 6, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Mavericks in 5, depending on how game 1 goes.
Cool, Kev. Load management Leonard. LOL. My notes on this are this. Kawhi's health. Inflammation. Is he going to be able to play? We really don't know. I feel the Clippers have the coaching advantage, though. I will take Lou over Kidd any day of the week. Said it a little while ago. Let's say Leonard's playing. Take the second best player off of both teams. Which roster do you like more?
Honestly,
yeah. You know what I mean? Because when you look at it,
I know exactly what you mean. It's just because I'm a Houston fan.
Yeah.
I've been burned by James Harden too many times. I tried my hardest to defend him for years, but time and time again in the playoffs, we see him flame out. And it's just like, okay, take away Kawhi, take away PG, you take away Luka, you take away Kyrie. In theory, yeah, James Harden should be the best player on the court. Will we get that James Harden, though? Yeah, one game he might have 30, and he looks like James Harden. And the next game he'll have 8 turnovers and be 2 for 15 from the field, and you're just like, this is a game the Clippers are going to regret blowing because James Harden sold them. And like I said, I really like the additions of Gafford, PJ Washington. I think they've been playing really well. Derrick Jones, they've got shooters. I think Hardaway off the bench is better than Hardaway starting. And like I said, the Clippers in their history, just as a franchise and recent history the last couple years, I just think if the Mavericks even get an ounce of momentum, all the doubts start to pour in, and it's just like, oh, here we go again, and they're not getting over that hump. So I agree with your statement. They're the better roster, but I've seen this story before too, and I just think Mavericks are hot right now, and there's no stopping them.
And one of the big players, the big move, bringing in Gafford, has been elite defending the rim. Is this something we're going to see, or is this just kind of who the Mavericks were playing? Because he never was that in Washington. Is Jason Kidd just figured out this thing, how to use him defensively, or was it the matchups? I'm interested to see how that matchup with Zubac looks. Is he able to defend the rim? Luka struggles with big, long defenders. I really think if I'm Lou, I'm telling George, don't worry about buckets. I just want you to be in Luka's grill 24/7. This is a defensive series. I want you to make them uncomfortable as heck. Another thing the Mavericks do is they do a lot of screens, a lot of Kyrie, Luka, pick and pop type stuff. Pick, cut. The Clippers have a lot of guys, Harden, Norm Powell, who can shoot, great offensively. But as you said, they can't guard a cone when playing. How is Lou going to hide those guys defensively? Yeah. I feel that this series, right now it's a pick 'em. I feel there's going to be a point where you're going to be able to get plus money on both teams to win the series, and that's the best way to play this. Wait to see who loses the first game. You can get some plus money on one side, and then you'll be able to pick it up the other way. Because I feel this series, I don't know. I think this series is going to go 7 regardless. I think this is going to be an interesting series, and I think Lou's going to be able to piece some stuff together. But I don't know. I could be completely wrong. Now we're on to the bets. This is my favorite part of the show. We each have 3 bets going for the first round. Again, I'd like to thank everyone on the Instagram, everyone on the YouTube, Twitch, X for watching. Let's shoot on the bets. Your first bet. This kind of plays in because I think it's going to be a little bit of a long series. What you got, my friend?
Suns and 6, man. I told you, like we talked about, Timberwolves, if they wanted to avoid their worst matchup, they should have taken care of business on Sunday. Suns went in their house. I think at one point they finished the quarter 44-22 on them. This is their worst matchup. They're not going to be able to guard the Suns. And while you say, oh, well, maybe the Suns' depth could hurt them and maybe they won't be able to get enough stops. You don't want to get in a scoring bout with the Suns in a 7-game series as the Timberwolves. That's not your forte. Like I said, I think they're going to be drawing Rudy out of the paint a lot. I think you might see the Timberwolves have to make an adjustment where, hey, let's go Naz Reid and Karl Anthony Towns rather than Gobert, because while we still might be giving up points, Naz Reid is much more of an offensive threat on the other side of the ball. But I think this is a series where Devin Booker, KD are going to have their way. They're going to be able to get to the mid-range, and it's kind of going to be a humbling experience for, Anthony Edwards. While, it's funny because we talk about this on my podcast a lot. It's like, yeah, we keep saying like, oh, this year it's the young guys' year. Like you got SGA, you got Luka, you got Jason Tatum. Last year it was the Kings out of nowhere. The year before that it was the Grizzlies. And it's like they're flying high, best teams in the regular season, and then you just got the old heads, KD, LeBron, Steph. They're just cruising. Hey, we're in the playoffs. We don't really care what seed we get because when we get here, we know what to do. And it's like, what year will they finally, drop off and lose? I was thinking maybe it could be this year. With this matchup, it's not this year. I think the Suns are going to handle business. I think they'll win game 1. I think Timberwolves take game 2. I think Suns sweep at home. Wolves come back home in the last, fighting effort. They win again. Back to Phoenix. Game 6. Suns take it. And Timberwolves are then looking like, okay, something's got to change. And I would assume you have to get Karl Anthony Towns out there because that's probably your most valuable asset. Because obviously Ant is the franchise piece. You just traded for Rudy Gobert and gave him took on one of the biggest contracts. So you can't really get rid of him. And it's just tough. Like, you had a great regular season. Best defensive team all year. It's not going to matter. Their best hope is that they can keep it close because the Suns are one of the worst fourth quarter teams in the clutch. But I don't think they're going to be able to keep it close a lot of these games because it hasn't been close in any of the games they played them in the regular season. I think the Suns, in the 3 games they played them this year, the Suns have won by a total of 47 points combined. So it's literally not been a competition, and I think we'll see more of that in this series.
Your boy, my boy from the I Need a Sports Pod, Cameron Sanders, is chiming in. He's got the Mavs in 6.
I like that. I hope you just listened to what I said because we're going to argue about this on Friday for sure. So go ahead. I already spit some of my bit out so you can kind of get your rebuttals together, Cam. But I want you to keep that because he's been big on the Timberwolves for like the last month or so, and we've just been going at it. So I'm excited to finally go back and forth with him when we give our playoff predictions.
My next bet, playing a first quarter here. I'm taking Cavs -1.5 in the first quarter. Magic are one of the slowest starting teams in the league this year. They are 8th worst ATS in the league for the first quarter. For the season, they have scored the Magic the 4th fewest points in the fourth quarter. Magic have no playoff experience. Cavs players were very vocal last year. They kind of had that deer in headlights look. I expect them to come out hot, and I think the Magic actually to start are going to have a little bit in the deer in headlights type look with how that place, the mortgage, whatever it's called, the mortgage center or whatever, is going to be rocking. Cavs 9th highest scoring team in the first quarter, averaging over 29 points per first quarter. Playoff betting to me is a lot of little situational things. You can bet the first half, bet the first quarter. I just think this is a great situational spot. You get a team that can't score that much. Historically, the season is showing up. They get off to slow starts against a team. Second year in a row, they're playing at home. Understand they need to go off to a good start. Are going to be feeding off the energy of the crowd and one of the better teams in the league for the first quarter. Magic may be able to make this game tight. I think the Cavs are going to go off to a good start. I'm going to play them -1.5 for the first quarter.
Like it.
Next one, and I kind of like what you're doing here. You're kind of double dipping here.
Yep.
You got the Suns to win the series. Got this price at -115. Again, when you're doing this, let's do unit size. What is your unit size for the in 6 versus just a straight up win? How are you distributing your units here?
So with my mindset, how I kind of described the series playing out, I think this is the lowest you're ever going to get it. Because like you said, even though the Timberwolves are the 3 seed, the way it's looking right now, the Suns are really the favorite to win the series. And in my mind, I see them winning game 1. Once they win game 1, the price is only going to skyrocket even more. I don't think they'll ever be in real danger of losing after that point. And then with the win in 6, that's just pretty good odds because I do expect the Timberwolves to be competitive in at least still 2 games. Last year, they went up against the Nuggets. That was their first time in the playoffs. They were able to steal 1 game off them, and of course, the Nuggets went on to win the championship. I think they'll be able to get 1 more game this year, but it's like I said, it's just a matchup problem. And then also on the flip side, Karl Anthony Towns, he missed the last half of the year with the knee injury. He's back. He got to play 2 games or so. He was all right, but now you're just thrown into playoff basketball. And like it kind of goes back into the argument I was telling you we had where we were like, hey, is he a top 25 player? Well, if he's top 25, you're going to need every bit of top 25 in this series because Anthony Edwards is really Minnesota's only true bucket getter, so to speak. They have a great team, but you need a bucket. It can't just be Ant, and you're probably going to have a rusty Cat. You get into the heat of the moment in playoffs, is Cat going to be able to produce? And how soon will he be able to produce? Because I don't think he's going to just snap back into the Cat we saw in the first half of the year. I don't think he's ever going to really return to that because the injury he had, that's something that only heals with time. But because it's playoff time, he's back. He's not 100% healthy in my eyes, but he's going to, of course, go out there, play, give it his all for his team. But I just think it's going to be tough for Timberwolves to win. I'm going to be looking to maybe, even triple up. Maybe if I can get some favorable lines. I want to say I haven't looked, but I feel like they might give Minnesota the favorite for game 1 since they are the home team. But Suns win game 1. I don't necessarily think that Timberwolves will be favored in any other game, especially when they go back to Phoenix. So that's where I'm trying to get the most here with the Suns win the series. So I actually put 2 units on them to win the series, and then I just sprinkled a half unit on winning 6 plus 400. And then, of course, you can always kind of hedge those bets as the series goes on. So if, the Suns are up 3-1 and they've looked really good, hey, I might throw some on the ML for the Suns to win because they might win in 5 now because they just look that good. So that's kind of the way I'm eyeing things right now.
I like that. Like I said, I think that's going to be one of the most intriguing series to watch and kind of see which coach does what. My next bet, and look, I'll probably get a lot of flack. I'll be called a homer because I'm giving this pick while wearing a Bucks sweatshirt. Play the -105 for game 1. Look, I get it. Giannis is more than likely out. But if he does play, how is this number going to move? Hypothetically, let's say he decides to play. We need to remember this guy, basically everyone thought he tore his ACL in that series against the Hawks. And then he was back 2 games later. Now he's getting more rest. We don't know if he's going to be able to boom. There he is. He's playing. And if that happens, what is this line going to look like? Also, I know they've struggled against the Pacers this year, even with Giannis. but this is playoff basketball. This is a different level of basketball where defense is valued. The Pacers, 118.6 net ranking on the defensive end, 24th worst in the league. Pacers will be able to score, but are they going to be able to generate enough stops? Halliburton's been great. Breakout season. All the props to him. All NBA. Struggled with physical defenders. That's why they got Pat Beverly. Beverly's going to be in his face, making his life uncomfortable. You also have Jay Crowder, who can come over and make his life uncomfortable. Is a little bit bigger than Halliburton, so he can really push him a little bit. And then I think we're going to see Connaughton on him. I think it's going to be that three-headed monster just going at him, mixing some Middleton there, depending how the knee is. I feel not having Heel is really going to mess up the spacing because you're going to be able to double, and I don't trust the other guys on the Pacers to knock down threes. Pacers have little playoff experience. They have Siakam, but I have news for everybody. We're at 2024.
Yeah, that's not 2019 anymore.
This is 2019 Siakam right now. This is 2024. Bucks defense, I know it's been brutal, but it's been better than what it was with Doc coming in. I'm looking at the Pacers. I don't know who they have that can guard Lillard, Portis, Middleton, and Lopez. I really feel they just don't have enough defensively right now. Everything I'm listening to, everything I'm reading has the Pacers winning this game, winning the series. I am taking a stand. I'm fading the public here. Biggest public side of the weekend is going to be the Pacers. Give me the Bucks to win at home. I'll take the minus 105. Stan Ware is chiming in. Pelicans need to be healthy. McCollum was just off tonight. Ingram just got back from an injury, and you can tell he wasn't himself. He also chimes in, Clippers in 6 over Mavericks. Luka goes away. Luka always goes off versus Clippers, but Clippers own the Mavs.
Well, two things on the Pelicans front.
Yep.
One, their problem is they're always not healthy. And then two, McCollum was just off. He's always just off a lot in some of the biggest playoff moments. It's a theme of his career. Once is a coincidence. Twice is like, 3 times, okay, it's a common thing. And like I said, it's been going on for 11 years now. We see it all the time. He's always off in the playoffs. They have to, if they paid Zion, so he's obviously the franchise guy. They believe in him. Zion's got to go get a jump shot in the offseason. They've got to figure out what pieces they need to put around Zion that are, 1, younger, healthier, and 2, that complement his game well. But you could try to stick it out with Brandon Ingram, but he's kind of teetering. It's getting to the point where it's like you call guys young, and then you realize, like, dang, they're actually, like, maybe young in, like, actual relative age, but in NBA years, they're not young anymore. So it's like, how much better are they really going to get at this point in their career? You've kind of seen what you're going to see from a lot of these guys. So Pelicans definitely, they're going to have to take a look in the mirror this offseason, make some crucial changes if they really want to elevate to that next level.
My thing with the Pelicans is this. And, like, I talked about it, when I was on your show for the you guys did a play in live watch along. It was great. I had a blast going on that. I thought the Pelicans were going to take that next step. And this was their opportunity to back that in the play-in against the Lakers. And they just completely no-showed, got embarrassed in that game. I really think they need to get a point guard, and they need to decide who the alpha is. Who's the guy? With the Lakers, it's LeBron. But I kind of feel with the Pelicans, you have B.I., you have Zion, you have CJ. You don't know who the alpha dog in the room is. You don't know who the guy taking the last shot is. Bryce, third and final bet, my friend. Whew. Where are you going?
Sorry, Stan. I get what you're trying to say. The Clippers own the Mavs. They owned the Mavs back when Luka was in his first couple of years and didn't necessarily have really any help, and he was still giving them a run for their money. Give me the Mavs to win the series. I kind of like what you said earlier too, Eric, where it's kind of like, hey, Clippers win game 1. The Mavs are going to flip to plus money. I'm going to double down at that point if that is the case. I just think the Mavs are – I think the Mavs are going to end up in the Western Conference Finals because they have the matchups they need on their side of the bracket to make it there. And I think Luka and Kyrie have been playing their best basketball this last month, and that's going to carry over into the playoffs. And honestly, I get the narrative, oh, they don't play defense. But if you've watched the Mavs this last month, or really since the All-Star break, they've been putting in more effort on the defense side of the ball. You see Luka diving for loose balls, getting deflection. He's top 5 in deflections in the league, whether people want to believe that or not. I know that's not a stat that shows up in the box score, but he's active on the defensive end when he wants to be. He's doing enough. He can give you 50 any given night. And then you got Kyrie, who can also give you 50 any given night. And I really think you could try to send whoever at him on the Clippers, but there's nobody on that Clippers roster that's going to shut Luka down completely. It's year after year. They've tried that. It hasn't worked. Luka always goes off. And now you give him a second threat in Kyrie, who seems to be playing some of the best basketball we've seen him play probably since the 16 finals with Cleveland when he made that run with LeBron. I think the Mavericks are going to be a very scary opponent for whoever they play throughout this playoffs. And I really think the only team that can stop them in the West as of right now would be the Nuggets. But I would not be surprised if they're able to upset the Nuggets just with the offensive firepower they have. I really think Luka, this is what, year 5 for him. He's 24. He has a very great case for the MVP. I do think the MVP should go to SGA just for what he's done for that Thunder organization and leading them to first. But I mean, Luka's the first person since Russell Westbrook to average 39 and 9. And that was, of course, Russell Westbrook's triple-double MVP year. So, like I said, every argument in the book for him to be MVP, but I think the Mavericks are going to take this one, and the Clippers are going to be going into that new crypto arena not knowing what their next move is exactly, with a lot of questions to answer this offseason.
My boy Bobby, who is a big Clippers fan, chimes in Clippers in 5. That's a little bit of a homer pick, dude. That's a little. You have to understand with Bobby, dude.
I just want to ask Bobby then, and Stan too. So with y'all's faith in the Clippers, are y'all confident Kawhi is going to play this whole series? Because I wouldn't be surprised if he plays a game or two, and then next thing you know, his knee flares up again, and next thing you know, Kawhi is back on the bench. Because the only way the Clippers are winning, definitely in 5, in 6 too, but definitely in 5. The only way the Clippers are doing that is if you have a healthy Kawhi for the whole series, and I don't think that's necessarily going to happen. I hope.
That's what you have to do, though. But the thing is like with Kawhi, now he's been insanely banged up.
When he's on the court, though, he's great.
On the court, he's great. And that's what the series is. Is he going to be on the court? And Harden has been so hit and miss. Westbrook isn't what he used to be. And I just kind of feel like the big thing in this matchup is the Mavericks run so much screen and cut, screen action, and the Clippers have these guard and wings that can just be exposed defensively. So I really feel is Kid going to be able to take advantage of that. I was listening to this podcast this morning when I was on the treadmill, and this guy made an interesting point. He said if he was the coach, if he was Lou, what he would do is he would put Harden on Luka to start. Have Luka have a great first quarter, great first half. And then for the second half, constantly blitz him, constantly have either Leonard or George guarding him. And then Luka starts forcing and taking bad shots because he had such a good first half. It was kind of an interesting thought, and it got me thinking. It's a little out of the box, but I don't think Lou will do that, and I don't know if that's the best play.
I get the idea, because then it's like you let Luka go off, but his teammates aren't touching the ball.
Yeah,
they're not in the rhythm. Blitz him second half. Teammates are cold. It makes sense in theory. I'd be interested to see if Lou would try that. But like I said, in my personal opinion, I don't know if you share the same sentiment, but my friends on my podcast do as well. I just think from a pure skill standpoint, when you're talking about size, skill, all of that, and not the stats, not the accolades. I just think Kyrie Irving is probably the most talented player with the basketball in his hands that the game has ever seen, because he's a 6'2" guard that can finish with either hand from ridiculous angles. And if you have a moment where Luka, starts forcing and he has to get off the ball, Kyrie is a guy that can go get you a bucket when you need it. And he's been doing that over the last month and a half too. I watched Kyrie go for 48, Luka go for 37, and torch my Rockets when we were in the midst of a 10-game winning streak, looking like we were possibly going to make the play-in. And they just came to Houston and blew us out in overtime after watching that. And I'm like, yeah, if these guys are just hot at the right moment, there's no stopping them. Now, of course, they could go cold, but as of right now, they're hot and they're rested. I just think as soon as they get, because they're going to get on top of the Clippers. And I think as soon as they do that and that momentum is on their side, things are just going to go south for the Clippers. They're going to start forcing. The doubt's going to start to creep in because there's a lot of pressure on the Clippers, because every year it's, hey, can Kawhi be healthy? Can PG be healthy? We can do it this year. They've been healthy this year. I know Kawhi not recently in the last week or two, but they've been healthy. PG looking like it's his last year for the Clippers. It's literally now or never. So any bad game, bad moment, bad stretch of events within the game, the pressure is that much more amplified for the Clippers, I think. And I think the Mavericks are going to be able to take advantage of that.
You made an interesting point about the Mavericks and how they treated Kyrie, how they got him and gave him all this vegan food. And I really feel the reason why we haven't heard much about Kyrie, any situations off the court, the Mavericks are just treating him well. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't know this about Kyrie. He's 12 years old. He goes to bed. Mom says, I love you. Wakes up the next day, and his mom passed away when he was sleeping. I don't care who you are. That's when you're 12, that's going to play with you mentally. And now he's in a situation with good leadership on top that's treating him the right way. And I think he's thriving because of it. And if he's able to do what he's doing right now, they're going to be a really tough out. And you mentioned the defensively and everything. It's going to be interesting to see. And I think you're kind of right. I think they're kind of a dark horse that could kind of make it a run, make it a little bit interesting. My last play, and it's absolutely grimy. It's tomorrow night, and I hate the fact I'm doing this. Give me the Chicago Bulls here at -1.5. What are we doing here, people? Why is this only 2.5? Last month, the Hawks 21st worst net ranking. Last 2 weeks, 25th worst net ranking. The Hawks have lost 6 in a row, and 7 of their last 10. They're 3-7 in their last 10 games. They're battling for home court in this playoff plan. And that is what you are getting. Trae Young hasn't been playing. How is he going to look? How in game shape is he going to be? Even with Young coming back, the Bulls gave up the 4th least points per game to opposing point guards this season. I've heard that there's been locker room issues with the Hawks. I heard Young could have come back earlier, but they purposely hung him out, kept him back a couple more games to see what the offense looked like with Murray being the one and no Young. We see Bogey having a great game. Big win for the Hawks, and he's getting in a fight with Quinn Snyder. There's a million issues going on there. They have no Johnson. My boy Double O is out. Bay is out. Matthews is out. That's going to hurt the depth. That's going to hurt the rotation. And look, I know the Hawks are the 6th best rebounding team in the NBA. Johnson, Double O, and Bay are their 2nd, 3rd, 4th best rebounders. Who's rebounding now? Capella can only do so much, and he's such a liability on the defensive end. What are you going to do with him? How much is he really going to be able to play if they're putting this, I can't even pronounce his name, the big guy the big foreign guy. Vucevic and DeRozan in the pick and roll, he's going to be lost. How much is he going to be able to play? That's why having Double Lob out there not having him out there is going to hurt the Hawks so much. Plus, they're not going to have this big rebounding edge. Everyone talks about the Hawks shooting threes. Last month, Bulls have been shooting just as good. Both teams are 36%. Hawks have not been shooting the three that well. I feel if you look at the teams in the play-in teams, there is one team that has the 1-2-3 Cancun vibes, and that's the Atlanta Hawks. Give me the Chicago Bulls here, -2.5. I hope DeRozan's kid is front row,
yelling.
Give her those tickets. Give me the Chicago Bulls here. So
I like that one strictly because it's going to help push my agenda. Whatever the Atlanta Hawks want, San Antonio Spurs, just make it happen. So we can see a Wemby, Trae Young duo. Because I'm so tired of watching Spurs games this year. Wemby rolls to the basket. The dude is 7'5". Just throw it in the atmosphere of the rim. He'll go get it. And the guards refuse to do it. If they can get any serviceable point guard, but if they can get him Trae Young, me and my friends joke about it, but I'm pretty serious. People won't like it and they won't accept it. But if not next year, definitely year 3, it will be undisputed. Victor Wembanyama will be the best player in the league and maybe the best player we've ever seen because he's 7'5". It's a cheat code. There's no reason he should be, leading the league and pull up 3-point percentage at 7'5", dribbling down the court, pulling from the logo. There's no reason for him to be leading like that. And then on the defensive end, like I said earlier, defensive player of the year, without a doubt. When your team goes from 26th net defensive rating when you're off the court to 4th when you're on it, I think that says enough that you're the defensive player of the year. So, yes, Bulls -1.5. I like it. Get the Atlanta Hawks offseason started so they can start talking trade discussions with San Antonio. Let's make it happen.
And it's interesting, how can I agree with you. I think this timeline for San Antonio is sped up. I always thought it was going to be 5 to 6 years. But with how good he's been and what we're seeing from him, I think the time frame's right. We got 3 years, and the San Antonio is going to be the destination. And there's going to be a guy, not a young guy, but a little bit of an older guy. Someone who's I'll say 29 to 32, who is you know what? That's where I want to go. I want to go down there. I think that's the best position to win the ship. And it's going to be interesting. If Trae Young goes there, is he going to buy into the Pop system of doing things, the defensive end, all that stuff? I think he'd be a great addition, but we'll see. You know what I mean? We'll see what happens. And one of the rumors I heard is the Spurs may be interested in bringing Murray back. Could you imagine that if they traded and got Murray back?
That would some point guard that will pass the ball to the rim. That's all. That's all I want to see.
Bryce, I always enjoy when you're coming on. I'm looking up at the clock. It's been an hour, 18 minutes. It feels like it's been 5. Why don't you tell everyone when your podcast is coming out, where they can find you and everything? You guys have been doing these great jobs with these highlights. We've been doing college basketball, women's college basketball, NBA, where you've been doing these live highlights. Why don't you tell us when those are going to be coming out and when your next podcast is going to be coming out?
Yes, so if you search the @ name you see on the screen under me at INISPOD, I Need a Sports Pod on Twitter and YouTube. And ever since football season ended, we were just kind of there's only so much we can talk about the NBA where it's not just completely repetitive. Hey, who do you think is MVP this week? Hey, who do you think is an NBA dark horse? And we're we should kind of go the route of reaction videos on a day-to-day basis because some of these games kind of crazy. You see crazy highlights. And then the women's game, man, if you're a fan of basketball and you didn't tune into NCAA women's this year, yes, the Caitlin Clark mania, she's obviously the greatest scorer of all time, literally. But there's so much talent in the women's game, so we started reacting to that. Somehow, some way, the YouTube algorithm kind of hit for us on a couple of videos, kind of blew up a little bit. We were able to reach 1,000 views on numerous videos. We hit the 100 subscriber mark. So we just been focused, dialed in. It really just kind of depends. Now that it's playoff time, we've kind of taken a little break, kind of get ready for playoffs. We're going to be doing live pods throughout the playoffs, going to be doing reactions to all of the games, and those will be uploaded, the morning after or night of for some of them, for some of these playoff games. But next podcast will be Friday. I'm assuming we'll probably want to do the Pelicans versus whoever wins this Kings Warriors game, but we will be live for that one, live reaction, and also giving our playoff predictions. The plan is to bring on a couple friends, talk some of the matchups like me and you just did, have them give their picks. Love to have you on if you're free. But yeah, we're going to be doing this throughout the NBA playoffs. We kind of been off of Twitter, focused on doing this, kind of growing our following. And then also, because it's on my mind, we will, as NBA kind of ends, we'll have more time to post on it. But we're actually looking to start up a Twitch as well, because we're all friends that grew up with each other. We play video games all the time together, and we're like, hey, why don't we just record us playing video games too? Because it's just another side. So we have I Needed Esports in the works. If you follow us on TikTok, you kind of see me post some clips of Fortnite, which I will say, I don't know how many of them are listening right now, but I'm the best one out of us on Fortnite. Kind of the guy who backpacks us, and you'll see that in the clips. But we're definitely doing that. My plan is to get one of the little face cameras so I can have the face ID. So that's definitely coming in the future. So if you enjoy video games, we'll have Fortnite, some Call of Duty. College football is supposed to come back this summer, so I'm excited for that. Our guy Chris is a big Rocket League guy. I don't know how many of y'all would be fans of that, but all of that, NBA, definitely gonna have a NFL, free agency off-season talk, because we haven't got to talk NFL since a lot of major moves. I know my guy Cam has a lot to say about that as a Texans fan. I'll be arguing with him a lot this year because he thinks, they're the team to beat now. But yeah, man, INISPOD on all of our socials, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. Follow us there, subscribe if you like it. You'll see Erik on quite a bit. But yeah, that's basically what we've been doing the last 2 months since you last see me. Just focus on grinding, trying to explore different avenues and kind of get a bigger audience. And it's been fun. Those reaction videos they've kind of become our bread and butter, and I enjoy doing them with the guys. So
let's make some money at Etoft21sports. Are you going to be going to any Chicago Sky games this season? Damn right. They got my girl, Angel Reese. I'm going to be going down to the city to watch her. They also got the big woman from the tall. I'm spacing on his name.
Cardoso. Oh my God. Camila Cardoso. Twin Towers. Oh my God.
I was talking about my buddy earlier to this. I think when you look at all the talent coming into the WNBA, I think she's going to have the easiest transition because of how physical, how tall she is. And my hot take, I think she's going to have the best career, because I kind of feel that we haven't seen her peak.
Oh yeah, no. She just came to America 7 years ago. Didn't speak a lick of English.
I feel like she's going to be the one that grows enough. And I kind of feel she has the most room to grow. I think she's going to be great. Also, nice call on the first half under. Another first half under. Can't complain about that. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X, everything. You guys are great. We'll be back next week with my boy Sterling from Silver Star Sports. He's going to be coming back, and we're going to be doing a first round NFL draft, sharing some bets we're going to make for that. Make sure to check that out. Make sure to give my boy Bryce a follow at the I Need It Sports Pod, INISPOD on all social media. Till next week, boys and girls.